When we make selections, we want to make sure we can get a perfect selection around a person. And when we get to places like this where there's hair that has a background, it can be really challenging. So to do this, I am going to use my newfound tool. Oops, not the frame tool. The newfound tool, the object selection tool, and I am going to go and make a first selection. Now, this isn't a great selection. If I go in, it's pretty good, but if I go in, I can see that my foot's a little messed up. So I'm going to use my lasso tool, and I'm going to choose the add to selection. And I'm going to go and do just a nice, easy selection to that. So I'm adding to that selection as you saw in the previous video. All right, let's zoom out. And I think her hands are a little bit messed up, so there's a couple areas, where I can do a better job with this, and I think the magic wand tool will do this for me. And again, I'm going to add, I'm going to subtract from the selection in this case. And let's see, I got a little weird spot here. I can do like through here. I'm not going to get into all this hair because I'm going to show you the select and mask tool. So I've got these three tools. Any one of our selection tools have to be selected. I also have to have a selection. On my layer palette, you'll notice here that I am on that layer, and I'm just using an image right now. I didn't create a new file, so I'm just going to focus on the select and mask. Up at the top of the screen, it's called select and mask. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that button, and it takes me into this window. Now when you get here, it's probably set on maybe like onion skin or overlay perhaps. You're going to want to change it, and I got to this by clicking on this little button here. Let me zoom out of my image so that you can see it a little bit better, see what happens. I'm going to switch to on black, and your slider probably starts somewhere down around here. And when I do that, you can really see where there's white that's showing through from the background. Her hand's pretty messed up because I didn't clean up that selection very well. For this type of selection, I'm going to ignore the radius. I might increase it just a smidge, but not very much. I got 1 pixel on there. I'm going to leave it like that. And then we've got global refinements. We could soften the edges a little bit by adding a feather. We could smooth it out as well. I don't think we're going to need to do that. I'm just going to leave that at 2. Now, here's the thing. When you make a selection, you really need to do this and play around with this tool. So your assignment is going to give you the opportunity to try these out. If I shift edge, here's what it's going to show me. I'm sliding so that my edge is further out. You can see the white around her that shows up, and I don't want all of that, so I wouldn't want to go that far. I'm going to slide this back the other direction, and what you'll see is that it's pretty hard to see, but it's actually squeezed way in, and so it would probably appear like the image was partially lost, like we had cut off part of it. So our shift edge probably is going to remain somewhere in the middle most of the time, but every once in a while that tool comes in handy. So keep in mind what is grayed out or is black is what's going to be hidden from view. I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and then your output settings is the next thing that you want to change. We want to choose decontaminate colors. I've got it set to 100%. You might leave it somewhere around 75%. 100% probably isn't bad. And then output 2, for now we're going to use new layer. So here's where the magic comes in. And let me zoom in a little bit. Instead of having to go in and use one of the selection tools to get all of this cleaned up, I can use this second tool here. It's called Refine Edge Brush Tool. So I've got it selected. It's on the plus. My size is 19 pixels. That should be good. And if I just run it around the edge of the hair, it's going to go in and it's going to guess, it's going to get rid of the white and only keep the parts that we want. So it really is pretty awesome what it can do. It's going to make it so that our selection doesn't have any background so that we can see through there. So I'm just going to continue along and finish that up. Looks like I have a little bit here on the front. In general, it's better to do shorter strokes. I don't want to use this brush on any other portion because I want to keep these nice clean lines along here. So around the outside of the body. I do want to adjust right where the hand is at. So I can use some of these other tools. I can go back and choose the lasso tool and I can add to the selection and I can just kind of very carefully go along. Ooh, no, I didn't undo there. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. I'm going to add to that selection and add that back in there. So I would take the time to get this cleaned up really nice. Her arm's a little messed up here. Her finger is still messed up. So you really want to get your selection so that it's all cleaned up and we can see exactly what it's going to look like. I'm going to ignore that part for now. So that's how we would go through and use those tools. And we scrolled all the way through on the right. We're outputting to, like I said, once again, new layer. And then we'll hit, I always leave this remember settings turned on as well because I typically use similar settings. So I'm going to hit OK. And once we're out, we can see all of these settings. Now, if I add, and you see that we have a new layer with that selection, what I'm going to do is add another layer. So that's down here at the bottom. I'm going to drag it beneath the background copy. And then I'm just going to choose, I have red here, so I'm going to choose the paint bucket. And I'm going to click just so that you can see how good of a selection this is. So it works really well.